So, Dr. James, sir, over to you.
Department of Commerce and Business Studies, Jamia Islamia. Of course, Mr. Akram, Mr. Sanjay Deswal, Madam Vijay Kati, I work very closely with her. Then Ms. Sangeeta Godbole from the Director General ACPC. Then Mr. Spiron. So thank you. I think I'm extremely delighted to say that Akram has been instrumental in this workshop. And he's so dynamic, he said that we need to do a program, and I did not have any second thoughts. And I should also tell you that, in recent times I have been involved with one challenge on India's export promotion schemes at the WTO. And I thought that it is high time for India to have a clear rethink on the export policy sometimes, and make our sectors vibrant and in a position to make use of these opportunities. So when we think about, export subsidy, we actually call it export promotion schemes. And sometimes, when we call this export promotion schemes, some other countries actually are under the impression that we are giving an export benefit or export subsidy to some of our industries. But the reality is that if a country has a lot of money, it can actually give benefit or support to all the sectors, domestic and export-based sectors. But in certain situations, the government, especially the developing countries or the least developed countries, they do not have the resources in order to provide funding or infrastructure facilities to all the sectors. And if you look at the history of these countries, it's very interesting. For instance, India had a very anemic balance of payment for a long period of time. India maintained import restrictions for nearly 4 decades. India lost a case in the WTO. Then India had to phase out import restrictions. But to an extent, quantitative restrictions are still permitted under the WTO framework. But why are we actually maintaining these import restrictions? Because we do not have sufficient foreign exchange to basically service our imports. That's the reason behind it. So the question here is that unless we promote our export subsidies, or unless countries like India promote some of these export sectors, their macroeconomic situation will be in trouble. So there is a great, not only great need, there is a great urgency in order to provide legally permissible help to the export-oriented industry. I'm not saying that it should be subsidies, but we should be very careful even to the usage of the terms. Because when the United States filed this case, they actually quoted the statements of the minister and the commerce secretary to actually say that these are actually export promotion schemes. We took the position that, okay, these are not export promotion schemes. When a product is actually exported out, we don't actually export our taxes. They have to be related. So these are basically remission schemes, or working on the principle of a destination principle taxation. So the fundamental point is that sometimes when we recraft our policies, we have to make sure that it is in line with the international commitments that we have undertaken. And that requires a huge amount of thinking, not only within the government, but also from the private sector. And I thought that this is extremely important because we have to tell the private sector people that, there are certain issues with respect to some of our policies, and there is a sunset provision already in the WTO. Many countries cannot actually, give subsidies once they reach a per capita GMV of $1,000. So that's a disputed matter. I don't want to talk about it, but the point is that there is a sunset option. So even Bangladesh will have a sunset fairly soon. And the very concept of export subsidy is actually a completely mistaken term in trade parlance. Many people think that it's completely distorting. The reality is that it is not that distorting. Developing countries want foreign exchange, and therefore it is an extremely important element of their development narrative. So, this program is not actually purely about exports promotion schemes only. It talks about even services, and we have Madam Godbole here. Interestingly, there are no services subsidies visible in WTO. So our SEA schemes cannot be challenged, and that's a good thing. But we have to also make sure that there are, I think, certain issues with respect to intermediaries and other sectors within this particular field. We have to sort out these issues. And our EXIM policy is actually a living document. It is not a set in stone. We can actually change it. There can be amendment under Section 5 of the FTDR Act. So it is actually a document that we can always change and modify to suit our requirements. And that's why the initiative that has been taken by Akram and of course by Professor Atam Prakash is absolutely laudable. And I'm very thankful to the Jamia Millia Islamia for organizing this event. And you have arranged, you have actually invited some of the key stakeholders in this area who's actually going through the resource persons. They're absolutely amazing. They have got a lot of experience in this area. So I look forward to a very active and interactive session here. And I believe that we can have some meaningful takeaway from this program. The exporters and the parties can actually learn something to do business in a much more easy and effective way. And at the same time, the government can also take something out of this conference, which can be fed into the policy making. So this is an extremely important initiative. I thank all the organizers, especially Akram, for his very dynamic personality. He's extremely dynamic, and we need people like him in order to do this kind of action. And thank you again to Jamia Millia Islamia and for all the people who are assembled here, and especially for the people who came from the ministry, like Madam Sangeeta Gauturi and Mr. S.P. Roy. So thank you so much. I don't want to take more of your time, and I wish this conference was successful.